All right. You know what? Let's do that. Let's flip the script. Anything that we were doing wasn't working. We'll go full Costanza on this. If my instincts are all wrong, the opposite must be right. So let's go ahead with your best bet to kick off week 5.
Sorry, Middle Tennessee. UTSA -4. Best bet of the week. I still don't think Middle Tennessee is good. I think, yeah, they looked great against Miami, who also didn't look good against, Southern Miss and looked bad against Texas A&M. And like I said, it was big play after big play after big play, which is great, but that's not like sustainable. We talked about Middle Tennessee coming in as a really bad team, and I don't necessarily think they're any less bad. This is also just a bad spot. Is look at the history of what we've seen this year. Old Dominion upsets Virginia Tech, immediately loses to ECU. App State beat Texas A&M, should have lost to Troy the following week. Marshall beats Notre Dame, loses to Bowling Green. Georgia Southern beats Nebraska, loses to UAB. You mentioned it. Middle Tennessee got pumped by James Madison, who apparently is a lot better than we all thought, but they were outgained 548 to 119, and that was their first FCS game. They beat Colorado State, which is, I mean, they are laughably bad. They beat FCS Tennessee State. So, and then, yeah, they got the big win over Miami. They lived by explosiveness against Miami. They ranked just 105th in the country in success rate on offense. UTSA's defense is 15th in the country in success rate. They're 35th at defending passing explosiveness. Rashad Wisdom is not going to give up those big plays that Miami did. And then Middle Tennessee just can't run the ball at all. And UTSA is top 25 at defending the run anyway. So it's going to be all on Cunningham to do it again. And again, it's not, I mean, he only had 16 completions. It's not like he was just chucking it over the place, shredding them. And he's going to have to outplay Frank Harris, who's been awesome. Harris is averaging 327.5 yards per game, most in the conference, sixth in the country. He has 10 touchdowns, just 2 picks. Do you know who leads Conference USA in receiving by any chance?
Is it Sakari Franklin?
No, he's actually third. First is DeCorian Clark, who's averaging 104 yards per game. Second is Joshua Cephas, who's averaging 103 yards per game. And third is Zachary Franklin, who's averaging 98 yards per game. They have the top 3 receivers in the entire conference right now. I don't know about you, and correct me if you feel differently. I still think UTSA is the best team in this conference. We thought that coming in. I still think that from what I've seen. And I don't think Middle Tennessee is that good. And on top of it, this is just such a big letdown spot after that huge win against Miami. Meep meep. We're going back to Old Faithful. We rode them all last year. We're going back to the Roadrunners. Meep meep -4 is my best bet.
Emotional letdown spot.
That's also Friday night, so it's also a short turnaround after the emotional letdown spot.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd hit on that. They're still probably getting patted on the back all the way through warmups of that game. I agree. A perfect time to reunite with one of our favorites here on the podcast, UTSA. Love it. I'm going to go and fade one of the worst defenses in college football, as I am wont to do. So let's talk about defense. Ohio has given up 38 to FAU, 46 to Penn State, 43 to Iowa State, which, you can make arguments that those are pretty solid offenses. And here comes Fordham with 52 points. That's incredible to go up 52 points to Fordham. I understand that this Ohio offense really popped off in that game, but Fordham's 114th out of 123 teams at the FCS level in total defense. Of course, they scored 59 points. And I don't want to bury the kid because he's got a sweet nickname. Curtis Rourke has kind of lived up to expectations, at least Stuckey's expectations. He was the only one banging the drum during the summer preview series, saying that Ohio could be feisty this year. He's got a great nickname, the Maple Missile. That's essentially all Ohio has in this game. It's Rourke trying to outscore a Kent State offense that comes in, I think, ready to pounce because Ohio is 92nd against the run, dead last in the FBS against the pass, 376.3 yards per game allowed. I think Colin Schlee is going to have his breakout game. I think he could end up being the MAC Offensive Player of the Year. And this offense is ready to go. The fact that they cut their teeth against Georgia and looks really good, move the football in Athens, not Ohio Athens, University of Georgia Athens. I think they're perfectly primed to go ahead and cover this number. It opened at 7. I loved it at 7. It's bubbled all the way up to 11. I think it's kind of at the threshold where I'm feeling a little bit nervous. I certainly wouldn't play it up to 14, but we'll go ahead and play it between those two key numbers of 10 and 13 and a half. Going to go with the Golden Flashes here. And one final point on Kent's. they were one of the worst defenses in the entire country last year. Certainly for a team that was a bowl squad, they were absolutely the worst. And they've gone from really bad against the run to in the 90s against the run. And I think because of that, the baby steps that they've taken, I think they're going to be able to pair that with an offense that is just as electric for Sean Lewis. I think they get it done here. What's your thought on this MAC opener between the Golden Flashes and the Bobcats?
Yeah, I love that pick. And if you also like this pick and like Kent State, I don't love shouting out other podcasts on our podcast, but he's a friend of the show. So after you listen to all the Action Network podcasts, Bud Elliott, friend of the show, he's been on our show before. He had the Kent State coaching staff on the Cover 3 podcast. I believe it was yesterday. He had Sean Lewis, he had the offensive coordinator, Andrew Soder, and he had defensive coordinator, Jeremiah Johnson, on for a quick little interview with them. And I listened this morning and it was awesome. And it really got me behind the Kent State. He asked them about that schedule that they play and what their thoughts on it, which obviously we thought they should fist fight their administration. They love it. They said they love it. Sean Lewis said it's like when you're a kid, you use a batting donut to take all your reps. And then as soon as you take the donut off, you're just smoking the ball. And he said that he loved the fact that they ran their offense against the better competition. And he thinks it's going to really prepare them for the MAC play. He talked about how impressed he was about how their offensive line held up against these monster Power 5 defensive fronts. So if they didn't feel like they got pushed around by Oklahoma and Georgia, how do you think they're going to be pushed around by Ohio? So I love the way how confident they are after what they saw from their guys, and I'm all in. I agree with you. I love that pick.